Relationship with Mark Lamarr. And it features in this story the character of Frances Law. I don't know if any of you remember Frances, but when I first started touring as a soloist, I would often bring her out. She was a cute girl who would sing harmony vocals on my stuff. So when I mention Law or Frances, that's what I'm talking about. That is mental. Why the hell would Mark Lamarr be staring at us? I don't know, but he definitely is, replied Law. I glanced around quickly and with the subtlety of a maniac. Yep, he's staring all right. A couple of tables over, the celebrated 50s throwback of British TV and radio had his gaze fixed firmly in our direction. Surely he wouldn't remember me. We'd only met once, and that was a year and a half ago on a rainy night in Manchester. He wouldn't make that connection here, in an Italian restaurant in Austin, Texas. No, he wouldn't remember that, would he? Well, I suppose it might have been one of the more unorthodox radio sessions. After all, there can't be that many bands that stroll into the BBC to promote a new record and then break up live on air. It hadn't been the best radio session. I made the mistake early on of trying to be smart and funny, and Mark Lamarr was having none of it. He countered my lame repartee with a swift riposte and skillfully dispatched me back to the lower leagues of wit. I was in no way offended by such treatment. I'd strode in like a cocky upstart and had been given a verbal clip round the ear by a seasoned professional. It was impressive. Thereafter, it was just a radio session like any other. We played a song, shared some inane chatter. Mark Lamarr played a record, the usual bit. Then he read out a few messages and questions from listeners, including a light-hearted inquiry that caused the session to begin leaning towards the strange. Can you deny rumours that you intend to split up? There was an uneasy pause. A couple of weeks before, I told the band that I wanted out. The three of us then immediately embarked on the best piss-up we ever had, culminating in some boisterous karaoke performances in some of the worst pubs in Eastbourne. It felt like the right thing to do. No hard feelings, thanks for the memories. The bitterness came later, and in some cases would last for years. We decided not to make any official announcement of the band's split until after the release of our last single, How Did It Ever Come to This? I played it earlier in the evening. I think the others were hoping that the record would be a massive hit and that the success would convince me to give the band another go, but I knew it was over. The song was written as a neat full stop. Jive had wanted a killer single, one last push for chart success. What I delivered was a perfect 3-minute pop song about how the whole sorry business was dead to me and how desperate I was to get out. It was exactly what they wanted. How Did It Ever Come to This was the best single we could have hoped for, probably the best one we put out, but it absolutely wasn't the big one. It was never going to be the kind of success we would have needed. If anything, Easy World's last release only served to harden my resolve to go it alone. It was the same familiar old story. Radio wasn't interested, didn't want to touch it. But then word came through that we were going to get a single play on Joe Wiley's afternoon Radio 1 show. It wasn't going to make a huge amount of difference, but it was something at least. We listened in, waiting for Easy World's last great radio moment. But it never came. Instead, it was the first great radio moment for my as yet non-existent solo project. Joe Wiley introduced the song, gushing with praise for its stark beauty, and then proceeded to play all 5.5 minutes of the B-side track, my sparse piano ballad version of Candy Statton's disco classic Young Hearts Run Free. It was essentially my first ever solo recording, and it was already on the radio. The next day, she played it again. Relations in the band were not yet at a place that could be called sour, but it wasn't all group hugs and high fives either. When it came to recording the B-sides for How Did It Ever Come to This, we worked separately, recording a song each. It was presented as an interesting new approach to the tired old business of B-sides, an opportunity to showcase the wider talents of the band members. But it was also a useful way to get the job done without having to spend any time together. I chose Young Hearts Run Free because I liked it, still do. Only upon closer inspection did I find that not far beneath the surface of this upbeat empowerment anthem is a complex and tragic story of despair, denial, and an inherent cynicism. It's right up my alley. The triumphant chorus is actually quite a desolate cry, and it really is a beautifully crafted lyric. All I did was to play the song without its ironic disco counterpoint, and there it was, a tune that everybody knew, but had hardly really listened to. It was a stroke of genius, but not by me. You see, in 1976, even the disco floor fillers were built around some beautiful poetry. "Oh, this is awkward," said Mark Lamarr, doing nothing to help the fact that, yes, it was indeed awkward. I didn't see any point in lying about it. We weren't delaying the announcement of our split for any important reason, and our minimal promotional schedule had already guaranteed that the single would not chart. So I thought, what the fuck, and confirmed to Mark Lamarr and the listeners of BBC Radio 2 that we were indeed calling it a day, and it was, strangely, anticlimactic. When we were safely off the air, Mark Lamarr apologised for putting us in that particular position. He had not thought for a moment that we would actually be splitting up and would choose that opportunity to announce our passing. It was fine. It felt like a weight off my mind. Aside from that, I was completely numb. Now, 18 months later, he's putting me off my lasagna. We chose to ignore the man the way you would any gawping weirdo in a public space and talked of other things. But moments later, Mark Lamarr stood up and began walking over to our table. I began preparing my gentle reminder. "Oh, hi, yeah, Mark, yeah, we met a couple of years ago. My band split up on your radio show." "Easy World, that's right. Yeah, I have a solo album now. Maybe you'd like a copy of it. How do you like the linguine?" And then later, you know, I'd invite him to the show, and then I'd buy him a beer, and we'd talk about the old times. But when he reached our table, Mark Lamarr walked straight past me and up to the chair where Francis Law was sitting. "Excuse me, have we met before?" "No," answered Law. "Oh, sorry to bother you," said Mark Lamarr politely. He turned, left the restaurant, and I never saw him again. And I bet he doesn't fucking remember that either.